U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth warned that the next few days in the conflict with Iran will be decisive, cautioning that fighting could intensify if Tehran fails to reach a deal. He said American firepower is increasing while Iran's options are shrinking, highlighting Washington's readiness to escalate pressure.
The upcoming days will be decisive. Iran knows that.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth issued a warning to Tehran on Tuesday, saying the conflict would intensify in the next few days if it did not make a deal.
American firepower is only increasing. Iran's decreasing. We have more and more options, and they have less.
But Iran's Revolutionary Guards hit back with a new threat, saying it will target U.S. companies in the region in retaliation for attacks on Iran. Among the targets it listed were some of America's biggest companies, including Microsoft, Google, Apple, and Tesla. The warnings from each side came after an Iranian drone attacked a fully loaded oil tanker off Dubai, setting the vessel on fire. Authorities said the fire had been brought under control, with no oil leak and no injuries to the crew. It was the latest attack on merchant vessels in the Gulf or in the Strait of Hormuz since the U.S.-Israel conflict began. It also came a day after President Donald Trump threatened to obliterate Iran's energy plants if it did not agree to a peace deal to open the strait. Crude oil prices briefly spiked again after the attack on the tanker.
When NATO just wasn't there.
And Trump lashed out at NATO allies that haven't helped in the war, including France and Britain, saying in a Truth Social post, quote, "Go get your own oil." When Hegseth was asked by Reuters if the U.S. was still committed to NATO's collective defense, he declined to reaffirm that commitment.
And as far as NATO is concerned, that's a decision that will be left to the president. But I'll just say a lot has been laid bare. A lot has been shown to the world about what our allies would be willing to do for the United States of America when we undertake an effort of this scope on behalf of the free world. These are missiles that don't even range the United States of America. They range allies and others. And yet when we ask for additional assistance or simple access basing overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations.
His remarks were an apparent reference to tensions with France, Italy, Spain, and Britain. On Tuesday, sources said France and Italy have pushed back against some U.S.-Israeli military operations. Meanwhile, Spain defended its decision to fully close its airspace to U.S. planes involved in attacks on Iran. Experts have long warned that remarks suggesting that the United States might not honor its NATO commitments could encourage Russia to test NATO members' readiness to enforce the alliance's Article 5, which states that an armed attack against one NATO member is an attack on all.
Iran, meanwhile, has signaled a potential opening to end its ongoing conflict with the United States, with President Masoud Pezeshkian stating that Tehran has the necessary will to stop the war, provided its security is guaranteed and future attacks are prevented. Now, speaking amid heightened tensions, Pezeshkian emphasized that Iran does not seek prolonged conflict but will not agree to any settlement without firm and binding assurances. He stressed that any resolution must safeguard the security and interests of the Iranian people, underscoring Tehran's cautious approach to de-escalation. The Iranian president added that the country is open to reducing tensions if credible guarantees are put in place to prevent further aggression. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said Washington could end its military campaign against Iran within 2 to 3 weeks, calling it a likely exit from the month-long conflict that has shaken the West Asia and global energy markets. Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump added that Tehran does not necessarily need to strike a deal with the U.S. for the conflict to wind down, signaling a potential unilateral withdrawal.
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon. And they'll become tumbling down. And stock prices were up today almost to a record because they know two things. Number one, we have a safe country. We had to take a little detour because we had a madman named Khomeini who sadly is no longer with us. And we had regime change already. We've knocked out one regime, then we knocked out the second regime. Now we have a group of people that are very different. They're much more reasonable. I think much less radicalized. We have had regime change. We're dealing with people that are much more rational, I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities. As you probably read or wrote, we knocked out. Excuse me?
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war in 2 or 3
I think we're
weeks?
2 or 3 weeks.
Not 3 weeks. If it is
We'll
3
leave.
weeks.
We're negotiating with them right now. They've been, again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons. But we're finishing the job. And I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel is building new alliances with key regional partners to counter what he called the Iranian threat, though he did not name the countries involved. His remarks come as the U.S.-Israel war on Iran, which began on February 28th, continues to widen across West Asia, disrupting energy supplies, signaling inflation concerns and resulting in significant loss of life.
לא רק שחיזקנו את הברית עם ארצות הברית, אנחנו גם יוצרים בריתות חדשות עם מדינות חשובות באזור נגד האיום האיראני המשותף, ואני מקווה שבקרוב, אזרחי ישראל, אני אוכל לספר לכם יותר על הבריתות החשובות האלה.
U.S. Central Command Chief Brad Cooper met Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz and Army Chief Eyal Zamir to strengthen military coordination against Iran. Officials said the leaders discussed the importance of joint operations and aligned on next steps as the conflict deepens cooperation between the two forces. The war, which began after U.S.-Israel strikes on Iran on February 28th, has since spread across West Asia, causing massive casualties and triggering major disruptions in global energy supplies, pushing up oil, gas and fertilizer prices and fueling inflation concerns worldwide.